Welcome back, and we're going to be talking about reading and writing now. And I'm sure that you have been thinking, my goodness, I have been watching all these videos of all these parts of the lesson, and are we ever going to get through it? But I want you to remember that when you're doing a lesson, it's going to take several class times to be able to get through just one particular lesson. So I don't want you to despair. And so when we talk about reading and writing now, in this episode, I want you to know that this will come long into your class session with your students. Now, I want you to turn lesson 1 and page 13 and stick your finger there because we're going to talk about that. And I've put some of the chart of the beginning reading lesson on the board. And then go back to how to teach a lesson in the front of your book on Roman numerals 7 and 8. And this will help us and follow along with me as we talk about reading and writing. Now, reading and writing is literacy. And at the end of each lesson, there's not only this reading section, but right at the end of the lesson is an opportunity for your students to take a pencil or pen and practice writing the letters of the alphabet as in sequential form from lesson 1 through lesson 4. Hopefully they will be able to get through the lowercase letters and the capital letters by the time they finish lesson 4. So you just do this right at the end of your class session, go back and review it and add a little bit more depending on how your students are feeling. If they're tired and exhausted from working all day and now they have their English class, you can just do a few letters. You can just do a few and read a few lines. And just do not put frustration on your students. Let them enjoy it, have fun. Reading, because it is literacy, you as a teacher and your partner, and hopefully you will have a partner or two with your class, will need to move alongside your student. And if you have a table with chairs and they're sitting there, then you may want to come along on their left side, the left side of your student. So you're sitting beside them, and even if you're left-handed, you'll have to use your right arm and right hand to move through the letters and the words in the sentence. Now, the main reason why I ask you to do this is because in English, we move from left to right. And if you're sitting on the opposite side, then you have to reach across your student in front of their face to be able to go that direction. So it's a lot easier if you're just sitting on their left side and you move from left to right with your right arm and right hand using either a writing instrument, or you can use your finger or your whole hand depending on the cultural custom of your students and what they're more comfortable with. Now, the first thing that you do, and this is in your How to Teach a Lesson, is that you want them to listen to as you read it. So you say, please listen. And then you take your finger and you say, a man. And move your finger right across in the same rhythm as when you say the word. Don't do it too slow. A man. Or do it too fast. A man. You want a man so their eyes will trace your finger right along with your finger and move right along, and they will see the sounds which they've already learned from the previous part of the lesson. So you say, a man. Then you will say, please read. And then you have them read. Now, if they want to put their finger up there and go across, that's good. That's fine. That will help their eyes. If they come from a country where their language goes in the opposite direction, this will help them trace and move their eyes across from left to right. So that's okay. Allow them to do that. Then compliment them. Say, hey, that's a good job, good job. Now you read it. Okay, and then you go to the next segment. Now we put these on top of each other because that's the way we train in literacy, so that they are familiar with the letters. Now we've just changed the consonant sound. So after they've read a man, you say, now please listen, a mat. A mat. Now please read it. You read it. And then they are reading. So for sometimes the students just break out in a wonderful smile, and I've had students just break in tears. And you know why? Because they have been reading English, or reading in some cases, for the very first time in their life. Because they've come from a country where it's all oral language and they've never seen anything. And it's so exciting to see these students just break out with joyful laughter and a smile or tears because they've been reading for the very first time. So be prepared for something like that. This is great. Now, this is for the beginner. You notice that there's a beginner and an intermediate and advanced part. And if you have advanced students, just match the reading to the skill level of your student. Now, to continue with the beginning student, then after you do these columns here, a bat, a hat, then you move over to this column here, and you would say, a fat man. A fat man. Please read, a fat man. So then they are reading across. And then you'd say, a tan mat. Now what has happened to me many times, because we're using the a sound and we're using the t sound, which is in our pronunciation, a tan mat. They say, what's a tan mat? And so you just tell them that it's a light brown color. It's the color of the mat, a tan mat. A tan man is a person who's been out in the sun and he has been brown. So it's just the color, all right? So you talk to them about that. So we have a tan mat, and you go through the same column, a tan man. Then you move down here, a fat bat. So they're using the sounds, but now they're actually reading some beginning English phrases, all right? And for the beginnings, for the intermediate students, you can see right away that they're beginning to have a little bit more difficult. They're starting with a fat man is a tan man. So they're starting to use the same sounds of both the vowels and the consonants, and they're beginning to put some thoughts into what they're reading as well, because they're going to be coming across this in things to think about. All right? And the advanced, of course, is more advanced for those who already know how to read English and they know the sounds, and so you're just helping them with their accent reduction. And let me just say that even though we did clap the stress before, when they're reading, you want to help them use the rhythm and stress patterns. So for example, a fat bat. A fat bat. You know, we accent our descriptive adjectives and colors and things like that to come. So we say a blue car, a white blouse, a green house. And so we say a fat bat, a tan bat. So you help them put the stress. For your intermediates and your advanced students, if they're having trouble with the stress, let's take an intermediate one. A fat man is a tan man. So you would emphasize the descriptive adjectives. A fat man is a tan man. And so you'd help them with the rhythm and cadence of that. For advanced students, a tan man is has a mat. So a tan man has a mat. So you don't stress the vowel or the verb form and the indefinite article. You would stress the object. A tan man has a mat. A fat man holds a true friend. So help work them with the rhythm and cadence of that. And then after you've done that, before maybe even you go on to things to think about, you may want to turn over to the last part of the lesson where they are practicing the writing, and have them do that. Do it before you go to things to think about, and then maybe after you finish the lesson, depending on how long you've been meeting with your students during the class session. Sort of a good silent practice where they're practicing and they have, you know, they don't have to start forming sounds and words in their mouth. They can just practice with a pencil and pen. All right? So do that. Now, take a couple minutes right now and work with your students. Sit beside them on their left side and work through each of these sentences and help them with the sounds of the vowels and the consonants, both the voiced and unvoiced, and help them with the rhythm patterns as they read it, all right? And then we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll go on to things to think about.